Hi, I'm Scott Ellis, and joining me today is Richard Kastelein, futurist and writer, and we're looking at the future of television. So what is in store for us?
Well, interesting question. I think over the next couple of years we're going to see some serious shifts in consumer behavior around television, particularly with the advent of video on demand coming into the market, and the Netflix phenomenon, I like to call it. It's certainly changed how things are working in Europe, in the UK, and definitely in the Netherlands have had a huge impact on the viewing audience.
We're already starting to see a little bit of similar binge offering here in Australia with something like House of Cards, which is a Netflix offering. In Australia with Foxtel, they release on the same day all of the download. If you're a subscriber, you can get that. And that, for me, is a pretty landmark moment for Australian television. You don't have to sit there at 6 o'clock and watch the show every week as it comes out. If you want, you can sit and watch the whole lot.
Well, actually, when Netflix did that in the U.S., it really irked the studios in LA.
I imagine.
Because they were like, basically they took away scarcity in a sense. They created, it is artificial scarcity to force us to watch something over a period of 12 weeks or 13 weeks in a normal run for a series, and the fact that Netflix is pulling it all together, and the response of the CEO was, yeah, well, that's what our consumers want.
I guess that's the bottom line.
They want to watch it, and it doesn't make any difference for them. In terms of their business model, it doesn't matter.
I guess one of the other things to be talking about then is with this enormous plethora of TV shows that are going to be hitting us, how on earth are people going to be able to find it? How are they going to be able to know what's there? I mean, if there's 1,000 things on TV, how are they going to know that that's the good one and these ones to avoid?
Well, this is interesting because now, this is part of the problem already. I mean, in the Netherlands, I have over 1,000 channels. So by the time I get to the end of the EPG, I've missed half the show for anything that I want to watch. So we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg there. And I think that, what's being done now is there's algorithms that are being written. For instance, Netflix, even if you look at how Amazon deals with you as a consumer and figures out, what books you like, this is all stuff, recommendation engines they're called, that works on algorithms that are written to help you find stuff. But the problem there is, where it also gets interesting is you can actually, if you log into a particular site using your Facebook login, it will take all your data from Facebook and even figure out more about you, and also what your friends like, and also what people who are like you like. So it can really help you find what you want at the end of the day. But where's the serendipity in that? It needs an I feel lucky button, or we're going to be stuck watching, we're going to be off on our own little genres all the time and not really have the chance to watch, impact television that we may not normally watch.
Well, in an era then when we're increasingly seeing narrowcasting, what's going to be the role of broadcasting?
They're basically, the broadcasters are merely retailers in the living room. They're not the gatekeepers anymore, and they're competing with other companies based on price and brand. So, we're going to see more and more of the likes of Apple and Google and Facebook and Twitter and all those, guys with deeper pockets, those people with deeper pockets than the broadcasters have. We talked a little bit earlier about the fact that Google owns the cricket rights in India, which a lot of people don't know, the Internet Protocol rights. So they're delivering that via YouTube. But, the fact of the matter is, if Facebook can spend $16 or $19 billion on a startup, they could certainly outbid Fox or Murdoch or Sky or anybody else for sports rights. And that's the great challenge in the future. Who's going to buy it? That's a great question in the future. Who's going to buy it? Who's going to own it? At the end of the day, there's more demographics coming on the audiences too, which is interesting because of second screen and connected TV. We know more about our audiences than we ever did before. I mean, traditional audience measurement is 1,000 homes, Nielsen. It's pretty. Stick the finger, throw it up in the air. So this presents a whole new complicated world for the TV industry, because now we have these companies like Netflix come in who understand more about their viewers than anybody ever has ever. They've got all kinds of data that people use. They connect their Facebook accounts, their Twitter accounts to their Netflix account. There's all kinds of data they're storing on you and everybody, and what they can extrapolate from that is actually helping them create the new shows that they want to create. So they're using this information to create the next block. They know what they produce is going to be a winner. That's what's really interesting about Netflix, and the ability to collect that data. And the broadcasters they're just one step behind. They're these massive beasts that walk on four legs very slowly, and that's a big problem in a situation where the living room is under threat. Their gatekeeper role is under threat. If they don't move faster, then they're going to move out.
Is that inertia, though? Will they catch up, or is it just too late?
I think it's too late. Let's talk about Applicaster a little bit, because this is an interesting technology from Israel. Some friends of mine, they're a company, second screen company based in Israel, who come out with a really cool platform called Crossmates. Basically, it's a show. You'll be able to insert triggers where phone calls will be able to be made to people, like, should, Frederica marry Ralph, yes or no? And then, you can answer yes or no, and those will affect the actual outcome of the show. But there's also a lot of asynchronous engagement as well. So, when you're not watching the show, there's tweets coming through from the characters. There's stuff coming up on Facebook from the characters. You can write back to the characters, so you're really actually getting involved in the narrative in a really quite a cool way. And there's more and more technologies like this coming up. Certainly, the tooling up of production companies is huge in the future in terms of being able to create what I call triggers along the timeline of a show. We call that temporal metadata in our business, but it's basically saying, okay, we know so and so is wearing this dress by this designer at this point of the show, and a Mercedes comes through, so therefore those have value in a way. Because now we have some, we can actually monetize this because maybe there'll be a trigger on the second screen when the Mercedes drives through that allows something to pop up and says, you want to take a test drive or something like that. I mean, it's actually a bit scary in a way that the brands might insert themselves into the story that deeply. But the reality is they have to find some way to fund TV. And some of that can be as simple as like, oh, what's a Wikipedia link, to what's being talked about, or what's being, said on Twitter about that word that was just mentioned, or or as deeply offensive as "buy now," So that's we're seeing ZBox is doing that right now, but they're automating that process. And ZBox is a company that's also working in Australia as well as the UK and in the US. And what's interesting there is Anthony Rose, who's the CTO, came out with basically a really interesting concept in terms of how to create what he calls Z tags. And what he does is he ingests all of Australian television in real time, all of it. And he runs it through computers. And with those computers, he uses advanced algorithms to extract, metadata. So what's being said, well, somebody says the word Mercedes, or what's in the closed caption information. When you're watching television in Australia with a ZBox experience, these tags are being created on the fly, and they're drifting down as people are talking. And when you click on something like somebody says the word Mercedes, when you click on it, it'll actually bring you to Wikipedia, it'll bring you to Twitter, it'll bring you to what's being said about that in the news if there's anything said. So it creates context using artificial intelligence, which is really, really clever and very interesting. But I remember watching ZBox during the beta testing phase. I was invited to help them test the product. And I was watching a cooking show in the UK, and somebody went, and this MMM came up, and I clicked on it, and it was a political party in Mauritius.